Hi, everybody. This is Dawn Q, the mental health mom. Hope you're having a good day today. I wanted to jump on while the kids are back doing their neurofeedback training and give you an update. I promised when I started this journey of trying to be an advocate and spread awareness with our story that I was going to tell the whole truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And so that includes the topic of today's discussion, which I titled The Ugly Side of Progress. I'm coming to you today honestly broken. I'm just broken. And at the root of my brokenness is the senseless laws and the lawmakers that did not protect my children when they were misdiagnosed and wrongfully medicated 5 years ago. And the big pharma companies that are lobbying their weight all around this country to create a nation where the psychiatry industry and the insurance industry have all turned into, pill pushers and drug dealers. You're rewarded for drugging and not finding non-evasive methods to treat people, and especially children. So because of all of this being at the root of why I'm broken, we're at a point in our recovery process where I'm going to be real honest. We are really literally, I feel like, in the depths of hell. Honestly, it's really that bad, and let me explain what I mean. When we began this journey with our neurofeedback training, the amazing doctors here at Sandstone Neurofeedback were very honest and upfront about expectations, what to expect during the process. And because my children have been on some pretty powerful drugs the last 5 years. One had been misdiagnosed as bipolar, so he is on an antipsychotic and a mood stabilizer. And my other son was misdiagnosed as ADHD, so he is on, a stimulant, Focalin, a class 2 substance. We knew that the hardest part of the neurofeedback training would be, when do we start weaning the kids off the drugs? And the idea is, we knew it was going to get worse before it gets better, but that hardest part, the worst part, if you will, is the weaning off the drugs. The way it works, I've sort of explained it in my other videos, but as the neurofeedback begins to work and we go up in progress and the boys' brain waves are, changing the way that they fire, changing the way that the neurons fire. As the progress goes up, we need to wean down on the medication. And the problem is that there's not an instruction manual for this. It's not like, okay, after 20 neurofeedback sessions, we're going to wean off the meds. There is no owner's manual, if you will. And so even though we knew that it would be difficult when we're weaning and trying to maintain that balance of weaning down at the same rate that the neurofeedback is working, same rate that progress is going up, we're weaning down. Nobody could have prepared us for the reality of what we're going through right now. And one son in particular, the son who was misdiagnosed as bipolar and who's on Depakote and Zyprexa, an antipsychotic and a mood stabilizer. Nobody could prepare for what the reality of what this poor kid is going through because of the senseless laws, because the laws didn't protect him, because the laws didn't require the type of definitive testing like the QEEG or the brain map that could have avoided him being on these Mac Daddy mega drugs for 5 years. And because, our country really is influenced by big pharma right now. And my son is struggling because of that. And it is tough stuff. The problem that we're having is that the neurofeedback is working fantastic. but it's working so fast that we physically cannot wean my son off the medication as fast as the neurofeedback is progressing in a positive manner. So while awesome on the one hand, I mean, the neurofeedback is absolutely working, we physically, for his safety, cannot wean him as fast as the neuro's going up. We cannot wean him that fast. And so the problem is that if you get to a point where the brain waves are changing and the neuro's working and moving up, like I mentioned, and you have too many of the drugs in your system, you start experiencing the side effects of the medication, even if you never experienced them before. For example, my sons have never experienced any side effects whatsoever to any of the medications that they have been on until now, because we're not able to wean as fast as the neuro is working. And on the one hand, I am the happiest mom on the planet, but on the other hand, I really am walking a journey with my kids through the depths of hell as we try and wean off this medication, because they are experiencing tremendous side effects. And some of the medications, they recommend weaning off 10% reduction in dosage a month. Well, the neurofeedback is working way faster than 10% improvement a month. So we're in this pickle. And I know it will be okay, but it's going to be a while. Some of the side effects of the medications that they're on can last for up to 90 days after they're completely weaned off the meds, and we have just started weaning them off the meds. So we have a long road to go. So let me share with you some of the side effects and some of the things that are going on in our house. And I have to tell you that this is probably the most raw that I've ever been on any video. But it's important to share the whole journey and not just the easy stuff. And again, all of this is happening because the neuro is working. So while happy, we still have this difficult road to travel. So my son, we thought that had ADHD, that's on Focalin, which is, as I mentioned, it's a stimulant used for ADHD. It's a Schedule II controlled substance. It's in the same category as some narcotics, as some antidepressants. So it's still a pretty potent drug. So some of the side effects that you can experience is physiological dependence, euphoria, confusion, hostility, psychological dependence, restlessness, anxiety, irritability, agitation. And we're experiencing all of these. This poor kid who's 11 years old is not comfortable in his own skin right now because he's never not been on this medication. I mean, he was when he was very young, but he's been on it for 5 years. So he only knows his how he feels inside his skin if he's on Focalin. So now what's happening is we're beginning to wean off the Focalin, and this kid doesn't know how to be comfortable in his own skin because he doesn't know how to be or feel not on Focalin. And so when you combine that with his anxiety issues, the kid just cannot get comfortable in his own skin, and that creates the irritability, the agitation, all of those side effects. So he's struggling, but I will say he's not struggling nearly as much as my other son, who we thought was bipolar. Now, I mentioned that he is on 2 different medications. He's on Zyprexa, and I want to talk about that one first, because I want people to know what these drugs do to our kids. If you have kids on these medications, stop what you're doing and go out and find out if there are any other diagnostic tools that are available that you do not know to verify that your kids do indeed need these meds. There are kids who truly are bipolar, and they absolutely need to be on antipsychotics and on mood stabilizers. But we have a right to do the right testing to make sure before we put our kids on this. So he's weaning off Zyprexa, which is the antipsychotic. It says if you go online, clear as day, that withdrawal effects from Zyprexa can be debilitating. The word they use is debilitating, and it is debilitating. He is debilitated. Now, I don't even know if that's a word, but he is experiencing completely debilitating. It's a tough thing to watch. It's a really tough thing to watch. And some of the side effects that come with Zyprexa that he's beginning to experience, even though he never experienced them before because of this, the neurofeedback's working faster than we can wean, is depression. He's so depressed all the time. Now, if he's around somebody or around a friend or we're out in public, he will suppress it. But then as soon as he gets home, there's a huge outburst to let that depression and that anger out. There is a lot of confusion. There is a lot of restlessness, a lot of fatigue, horrible headaches, uncontrollable crying spells. All of this 12-year-old is dealing with all of this. And probably most difficult side effect he's dealing with is change in personality. I barely recognize my own son sometimes because he is changing so rapidly from rage to depression to crying. And there's a lot of suicidal thoughts. And let me just tell you, you have not experienced what these big drugs can do to your kids until one comes and tells you that he's been thinking about committing suicide. And to hear him talk about it every single day. It's a reality, and it's a reality that we have to jump up and down about. We have to spread awareness. It's not easy to talk about, but I think a lot of moms deal with it behind closed doors, and it's tough. Now, he's also weaning off Depakote, which is the mood stabilizer, sort of an anticonvulsant, and with that also comes suicidal, ideation. Confusion, depression, psychosis, drowsiness, anger to the point of raging is a side effect. And the raging is really out of control right now. It really is. And that is primarily because of the side effects, because it is working. Agitation, anxiety, irritability, non-polar mood swings, meaning the extreme highs and extreme lows, except it's not caused by bipolar disorder. So non-bipolar extreme mood swings. And, also something called emotional liability. And what that is exaggerated changes in mood. And most importantly, it means that the emotion that somebody expresses outwardly does not match what they're feeling on the inside. And you just feel like you have no control. And, my son is coming to me multiple times a day, talking to me about how he has no control. He has no control over how he's feeling, over his raging, over his depression, over his suicidal thoughts. None of that. And the rage that I feel, the anger and sadness that I feel in my heart is overwhelming. And the reason it's overwhelming is because had my psychiatrist, and this is not just my psychiatrist, it's the entire industry because nobody does it, had they told me that there was a tool called a QEEG, a brain map, that we should get done just to, kind of confirm and see if the brain wave mapping conferred what they were saying, confirmed that my son had ADHD or my son was bipolar. But they didn't. But they don't. They don't recommend it. And I don't understand why it's not required by law for minors. We're putting these kids on these drugs with these side effects when we need to have laws to protect them. So I ask you lawmakers, if somebody is listening to this, why? Why are we not trying to fix this when we have a definitive test that was approved by the FDA many years ago? I don't know. I wish I did. I wish that every big pharma company, every insurance company that does not approve this type of testing or this type of non-invasive treatment, every psychiatrist in the universe, I wish they could all come to my house. I wish they could come see what I see and watch these young kids who should be thinking about nothing but having fun and goofing off and, being out playing in the dirt, what they have to deal with. I wish they could come. I really do, because maybe it would change their thinking. Now, I know this will get better. It will probably take months. It's probably going to result in us taking this semester off of school because it's just too much for them to handle right now and just focusing on our treatment. But before you put your kids on these drugs, or if they've already been on them, I one mom to another, make sure that the diagnosis is right and that these medications are genuinely something that they must be on in order to improve their quality of life. Because I tell you what, trying to get off them ain't no picnic. It is really tough. So I just wanted to get real. I wanted to get raw. I want to make sure that if I'm chronicling my journey, I'm chronicling the whole journey. And right now, the journey is tough. The journey is tough. And so I hope that by being willing to share our story, that it helps somebody else avoid the situation that we're in. I really hope it does. Thanks for tuning in. It's Friday today, so I hope everybody has a great weekend, and appreciate you tuning in and your support of the advocacy work that the Mental Health Mom here is trying to do. So have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Till next time. Bye-bye.